Welcome to Think Deeply, Speak Simply, brought to you by Prezent, a show about the art and science of communicating ideas and how business professionals can unlock their careers and achieve their full potential with great communication. And now, here are your hosts, Jay Rook and Antoine Valentone.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jay Rook, and I'm joined by my co-host, Antoine Valentone. And today we are joined by Wolfgang Seul. Wolfgang, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
We're thrilled you're here as well. Wolfgang, you're the Vice President of Strategy and Chief Technology Officer at Hewlett Packard Enterprises, Pointnext Technology Services. Can you tell us about the organization, your role there?
Yeah, certainly. I'm very happy to. So Pointnext Technology Services is Hewlett Packard Enterprises' global services organization. With about 15,000 employees worldwide, we are presented in over 60 countries. And that brings with it thousands of customer interactions every day. We make sure our customers' IT environments operate flawlessly. We help when there are issues. We provide repair services. We proactively partner with our customers to ensure they get the best possible outcomes from their systems and from their services. And our services also include to help customers run and transform their environments. So we aim to be the trusted partner for all the services they can receive from us. And in this context, my team and I are responsible to develop the business and technology strategy for Pointnext Technology Services, making sure that we identify initiatives that should help all our teams perform better for our customers and serve them better, and ideally enable these better outcomes for our customers. And innovation and technology certainly plays a large role in all of this.
I'm sure. And to that end, on the technology front, what technology changes do you see on the horizon that you think will change how we do business and communicate?
I think this is something that will somewhat vary per industry, but there are also several key themes that I believe that are universally relevant. So in every industry and for every customer, the topic of digital transformation is very prominent, whether that's about robotic process automation or automated or augmented decision-making based on the continuously growing importance of data and artificial intelligence. Those are critical aspects. And in that context, I think these themes will continue to develop very rapidly. Then there is the very exponential growth of data at the edge, the big topic of the Internet of Things, whether that's about personal fitness or health tracking devices or sensors in a car or in machines. All that then comes also in hand, I believe, with a much more mobile and flexible way of how we work and live already today, a lot driven by the pandemic, but certainly increasing. And I believe that these areas will continue to evolve on an ongoing basis. And then looking a little bit more ahead, last but not least, I believe also new environments like the metaverse may further change how we navigate in the future online world, how we meet, how we collaborate, how we learn. For example, I know that some businesses have started onboarding new employees during the pandemic in the metaverse. But maybe also at an individual level in the future, how we buy and consume things. It's in its early days, but it's fascinating to watch and observe, and will be interesting to see how it all develops.
I totally agree. I think it's going to be fascinating to look back, and have case studies around how the pandemic, changed the arc of technology growth and adoption going forward. Speaking on that theme, this show's obviously all about business communication. How does communication differ in the technology world as compared to other businesses or industries?
I think the technology world, like every other industry, certainly has their own vocabulary. We have specific terms, abbreviations, synonyms, acronyms. And for someone who doesn't have a background in our industry, that can get easily confusing. But at the end of the day, I think the principles of good communications are not so industry specific. I believe that good communication, first of all, should start with a clear purpose. It should be relevant. It should be tailored to the audience that you're trying to address. And it should be clear, coherent, and ideally concise. As much as you can keep it simple and make it easy for your audience to understand you, I think that's the key of good communication anywhere and in any industry.
And what presentation tips would you have for individuals that are presenting to a CTO?
Yeah, I'd say also here, keep it simple. That's important. I think it's fair to assume that CTOs or technologists usually come from a background where they have strong foundations in technology, but also the nature of their job requires that they also understand business strategy and economics and markets and customers in general. Those are a lot of different areas, and no one can be an expert in every field. So before you present, think about the structure of your presentation or speech, and then ask yourself a couple of questions like, what are the special interests of the person you're presenting to? Check out the LinkedIn profile to get an understanding about your target person. Why is your topic relevant for that person? Where may you be asked for background information in terms of anticipating what questions may be coming up? And I think the better you prepare and foresee what may happen in terms of questions, the more you can make your pitch relevant and successful. Also, and I think that is really important, keep in mind that at the end of the day, you're just dealing with another human being, right? So don't be shy, don't be nervous, just be yourself. And if you know your topic well, which I'm sure you do, there's not much really to worry about, right? Just give it your best and you set yourself up for success.
Love that. And in your role where you're focused on this combination of both strategy and technology, can you talk to us a bit about how technology and strategy weave back and forth and influence each other?
Yeah, I think technology and technological innovation enable strategy and vice versa. So done well, innovation enables you to do things differently, whether that's faster or with higher quality and with more relevancy for your customers, or maybe something completely new for your customers. It enables you to explore new business opportunities, explore topics that might not have been possible before. For example, because of barriers like affordability or maybe complexity that you can now overcome with new technologies. And with the new possibilities that come from innovative new technologies, or then the associated business models, you can define and explore new strategies, which then again lead to new learnings, new ideas, new insights, which then ultimately can drive new innovation. So it's an ongoing circle that continues to repeat itself.
I love that infinity loop concept. And as a follow-up, with the speed of innovation, how do you forecast long-term strategy in such a rapidly changing environment?
Yeah, my view is that whenever you define a strategy, you're taking as many different aspects into consideration as you can. I like to think of this in terms of external and internal factors that all need to be understood and factored in, ranging from what is happening in the market or in the industry you're in, what is happening in science and latest research, but also when you look at your team or your organization, what are your strengths, what are your capabilities, where can you maybe improve in your area or in your business? And you need to constantly pay attention to all these aspects. It's just not a once-off activity. From there, then you define what you want to do based on all your strengths and all your findings, and you start executing while you continue to monitor on an ongoing basis what is happening all around you. That also brings me to flexibility. You need to be flexible, and you need to accept that sometimes things may not go as planned. Failures can happen. At Hewlett Packard Enterprise, we when it comes to failures, we have the mindset that we want to fail fast, learn and improve. And as long as you learn from your potential failures and seek ways to do things better, I think you keep innovating and you keep stepping forward.
If you don't mind, I just want to ask a follow-up question as far as embracing failure. I like that sentiment and agree with it. What's HPE do as a company to help create that culture where it's safe to practice that sort of mentality and behavior? Because it's kind of risky, right? Some people are afraid to fail because it could make them look bad, right?
So first of all, I believe it starts with each leader, right? So you need to encourage your employees, you need to encourage them to bring ideas forward. Give them the space, invite them to your meetings to present an idea. We have a program that is called the Idea and the Matchmaker. So you can bring an idea forward, and that is then shared with the community, where if you have an interest in the idea, you can connect to that respective team and start talking about it. How can you help? How can you make these ideas then happen in reality? So we try to encourage innovative thinking and new ideas. I think everywhere in our business as much as we can.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I feel like never before is the difference between fixed mindset and growth mindset more important right now as we talk about this cutting edge and constantly changing adaptable environment. Wolfgang, I know you're passionate about the importance of communication in digital transformation, yet oftentimes the human element can be overlooked. How do we keep that in the forefront when we're pursuing innovation?
Yeah, digital transformation certainly, by the word, has a lot to do with technology, technological innovation. But I believe we very much need to keep in mind at all times that it has as much to do with the people and the processes of your organization. So whatever it is that you want to accomplish from a new technology perspective, it is ultra critical that your employees understanding what you're aiming for and how that may impact them. Will their work change as a result? It likely will, and hopefully it will change in a way that technology and the digital transformation is an enabler for more creativity and for more quality work for each individual. And then ideally, it opens up opportunities to learn new skills and learn new capabilities. But when you're leading your organization through these type of efforts, that requires explanation and communication. It also requires that you listen to what matters to your employees, your customers and partners, and that you take all of that into considerations for your plans and for your communication efforts. So always keep in mind when you are leading a transformation that you pay attention to these key areas. It's about technology, it's about the people, and it's about the processes. And certainly, last but not least, also regulations play a role as well.
Sure.
No one is operating in a vacuum, so country rules and regulations are also very important to consider. And again, these very much impact the people that are involved. So that's how I believe it all comes together.
Thank you for that. And continuing on that theme, as we look to the future, how do you see AI impacting communication and vice versa?
So over the recent years, we have seen AI constantly rising, and it is now touching almost every aspect of our modern lives. It continues to constantly rise in importance. There are plenty of AI tools already there today that can be a great help for supporting good and well-targeted communication, whether that's tools that can help you structure your next news article or blog post, or tools that can help you define a presentation and tailor it very specifically to your audience. Then there's also the field of AI-driven language translation, which hopefully at some stage will enable communication between individuals who may have had issues in the past simply because they weren't speaking the same or a common language. Then I also think AI technologies will become more and more prominent and helpful wherever there are services aspects to consider. So virtual assistants, bots will develop further. We talk today in the services world about AI-assisted sentiment analysis when you speak to a customer on the phone to understand how they really feel about what they are experiencing. So all of that can help companies deliver better services and support, and then flexibly adopt their approach based on the learnings they can gain in real time. I do also want to make a point, though, that with all the advancement, we need to look at certain things maybe with a little bit of a cautious eye. So things that come to mind here are deep fake videos. I think they can be very funny, but they can also be used with malicious purposes in mind. So being aware and addressing those potential issues and maybe potential also bias issues, that is really important. So in general, utilizing AI in an ethical manner and with high moral standards is something I regard as very crucial as we keep advancing.
Great answer. Wolfgang, in your LinkedIn profile, you talk about being passionate about successful business transformations, innovations, and multicultural collaboration. Can you talk to us about the intersection of these three and specifically how to communicate more effectively when pursuing multicultural collaboration?
Yeah, all these are very closely connected. So innovations enable transformation, but then also collaboration enables both innovation and transformation. And I think it's very critical for both to be successful. So for me, collaboration is there to create knowledge and to shape the overall culture of an organization. And in an international organization or in a multicultural environment where everyone comes from a different background, that means there is a great and a wide variety of perspectives that come together. I believe that good leadership in such an environment systematically taps into these perspectives. It leverages them, it includes the people and their perspectives in whatever you're trying to pursue in terms of transformation and innovation. And what worked well for me, or what I believe works well when it comes to communicating in such an environment, is to take enough time to understand the other party, listen, acknowledge, and then see how you can best include these insights. It also requires to be approachable. It requires that you connect with people regularly and you take time to network and develop that mutual trust and respect for each other that you need in a global, multicultural environment when you want to collaborate with each other.
So that's a great answer. And just a follow-up question, I'm just wondering, have you found it to be easier or more challenging, because of COVID with the lockdowns, having to work from home for extended periods of time? How did that affect sort of your ability to accomplish, the steps you just outlined?
Initially, I found it very hard, I must admit. But then I very consciously switched very, very quickly to do all my calls when I do one-to-ones as video calls. I try to be on video all the time, and not everyone is comfortable with being on video, and I totally respect that. But through using the video technology, I think a lot of these connections have continued to exist as well as they were before, and I was also able to develop them further. So certainly not easy, and going forward, I think a good mixture of virtual and face-to-face activity will certainly help. And there are certain things that you can best do in a face-to-face environment, like doing a workshop, sitting around the table and just sketching up ideas. I think that is possible virtually, but sometimes certainly better when you can do it face-to-face. I think it's the challenge to find the right mix for these type of activities.
You're right, it is. It's always a challenge to strike that balance. And I'm just wondering, one other question that's related is, I've encountered personally, as well as heard from other leaders, that there is some hesitation by some individuals to return back to the office and to sort of reintegrate into sort of the collective. While I'm respectful of people's personal, commuting challenges and things like that, there's certainly convenience to working from home. Have you encountered that yet, maybe with any members of your team? And if so, how are you sort of dealing with that and getting people bought into the notion of there's tremendous benefit to be gained from being together in person?
Yeah, I haven't yet encountered that with my direct team. No, I have to say, I'm based in Germany and the rest of my team is all over the world. So no one of my team is in the same office that I am in. And I've been used to that type of environment for years. So not an issue for me personally, but certainly I can see that can become a challenge depending on where you're based, how you're based. And I know of teams who then have agreed on a certain day we all come to the office, we meet each other, and then there are other days when we work virtually. So there are ways to overcome that. I think this is an area that needs to be actively then also moderated by the respective leader, taking all the needs of that respective team into consideration.
Thank you for that. Wolfgang, what about today's theme would you like to talk about that we haven't discussed already?
The one thing that I would mention here is that critical thinking and consciously taking a critical distance when necessary comes to mind, also to ensure good communication. We all know or hopefully we all know that not everything that you can see or read in social media or any media for that matter must necessarily be based on facts. It mustn't necessarily be well-founded. Certainly not on established research when it comes to things in business, right? So when things get presented to you, whether that's statistics that look very thorough and sound, ask yourself the question, are they really? Where do they come from? Always question what you see. Try to look beyond the data points that get presented. Not to be difficult, but in order to make sure that whenever you have to make a decision, you base it on good information, right? So, and also ask yourself at times, what kind of information is not being shown to me? And why is that not getting presented to me? That can often lead to interesting questions and also interesting insights. And when you're a presenter, as I mentioned earlier, do your best to anticipate these questions. And when you put your presentation together, resist the idea of just including data that may support your point, right? So make sure you look at things from all the sides. And ultimately, I believe that builds credibility and trust with whoever your audience is.
I love that reflection spot about thinking about what is not being shown to me. That's a great point. This is a question that we ask of all of our guests on the show. Do you think great business communication is more of an art or science, and why?
Yeah, that is a difficult one. I believe that great communication or great business communication touches both the heart and the minds of the people that you're talking to or that you're presenting to. So it has elements of art, but it also has elements of science. You can plan your speech very well, but you also need to have a story that touches people's hearts. To me, they are not mutually exclusive. I think you need to combine them and you find the right mix, and that then is the recipe to success.
Love that. What advice would you have for aspiring business leaders who want to improve their communication?
Yeah, one thing that I personally do, and what has helped me quite a bit, is to make it a habit to reflect afterwards when you have communicated something. When you delivered a memo or a presentation, just set a few minutes aside at the end of that or at the end of every day to think about what you could have done better, learn from that. Force yourself to do that, even plug it out in your diary. As I said, that has worked very well for me. I still do it every day. And then when you present a topic, ask your audience afterwards what worked for them, what did not work for them. And then, of course, be grateful for any feedback that you get, particularly the feedback that tells you what you could have done better. And the more you make that a habit, I think the better you will get.
Thank you for that. Antoine, any final questions on your end?
No, personally, I just wanted to say thank you, Wolfgang. I've learned a lot from listening to you speak today, so it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And Wolfgang, we'll give you the opportunity to tell listeners where they can learn more about you and consume some of your content. Anywhere on social media or the internet, that's the best spot to connect or follow you.
Yeah, the easiest way to find me is certainly on LinkedIn. So I'm very happy to connect with anyone out there. And in the spirit of what I just shared as an answer to the previous question, so all of you out there who are listening to this and who may have an additional question, a thought to share, a suggestion on what I could have done better or presented or expressed more clearly, I look forward to hearing from you, and I very much appreciate your thoughts and your feedback. Thank you.
Wolfgang, on behalf of myself, Antoine, and all of our listeners, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your thoughtful responses to our questions and getting to participate in this conversation with you.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Think Deeply, Speak Simply. To learn more about the art and science of communicating ideas, visit our free resources at prezent.com. That's Prezent.com.